easy, Ironhide. Just kidding. I just wanted to show him my cannons.
Welcome back, Autobots, Decepticons, and everything in between to another awesome Transformers video. And in today's, I'm setting the record straight on why Ironhide does not have his iconic cannons in Transformers Dark of the Moon. Now you might be saying, Theorymus, haven't you already covered this topic in the past? And, well, I have a couple times, analyzing it both from an in-universe standpoint as well as speculating on the real-world reason behind this change in the third film. However, those videos were in a desperate need of an update, and I wasn't able to include every single piece of information that I wanted to say in my YouTube short. So this video is going to be the end-all be-all on why Ironhide did not have his cannons in Dark of the Moon. With that said, I want to start off with the real-world reason as to why Ironhide's cannons were absent in the film. The reason why I'm starting off with this is because a statement has been making the rounds that claims that the cannons were ditched due to them both having 10,000 CGI parts each, thus making them very expensive to animate. Now, on paper, this statement seems plausible, since the filmmakers have gone on record stating that animating and rendering the Transformers was a very complicated and time-consuming process. A perfect example of this would be where Sam and Michaela meet the Autobots. According to ILM visual effects supervisor Scott Farrar, it took 36 hours to render just a single frame of film, which is insane. However, despite these facts in hand, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever to support the claim that Ironhide's cannons were removed from Dark of the Moon due to their high cost of animating their extensive part count. And I know this because I looked far and wide into this claim, combing through several interviews with the film's visual effects specialists. And despite extensive research into this, I couldn't find any official statement that said that Ironhide's cannons were cut due to them being too expensive to animate. So then, where did this claim originate from? And well, after doing some digging, it seems like this YouTube short from Random Black Gamer is the culprit. Unfortunately, RBG does not cite any official source for his claim, but based on his short, it seems that he may have drawn this conclusion based solely on the assumption that Ironhide's cannons, with their 10,000 CGI parts each, must have been expensive to animate. Now, this part count is another thing I would like to address, since it has been well known by many fans that Ironhide's cannons were made up of 10,000 CGI parts each. The TF Wiki states this, tons of websites have mentioned it, and I have stated it as a fact in some of my previous videos, so therefore it must be true, right? Well, that's what I originally thought for the longest time. However, when doing research for my BD Live Lost Media video, which you should definitely check out by the way, I stumbled upon this ILM visual effects breakdown video for Transformers 2007, and in it we get to see Ironhide's part count, which comes to an incredible 18,530 parts. And this is noteworthy because according to Scott Farrar, Optimus Prime was made up of 10,108 parts, meaning that Ironhide's model is more complicated than Optimus Prime's. However, we have a problem on our hands. You see, if Ironhide is made up of 18,530 parts, then the claim that his guns are 10,000 parts each is impossible, since that would be 20,000 parts in total, and this doesn't even include the parts that just make up his body. So then the question is, where did this claim about Ironhide's cannons being made up of 10,000 CGI parts each originate from? And well, in order to find the answer, I went to Ironhide's TF Wiki page, since that's where I originally learned about it. And right here we can see it clear as day. Unfortunately, the wiki does not leave a source for this information, meaning that the editors of the wiki either made this detail up or they learned about it from somewhere else. To me, the latter explanation seems more likely, and after doing some digging I was able to find the same claim being made on the Transformers 2007 Wikipedia page. After diving into the page's revision history, I was able to find out that this nugget of information was added on June 27th, 2007, and luckily for us, the editors on Wikipedia provided a source. Unfortunately, clicking the link now takes you to a dead page, but thanks to the power of the Wayback Machine, we can still view it. And here we can see an interview between director Michael Bay and MTV that was posted on February 15th, 2007. If we scroll down a bit, we can find a very notable piece of information that comes straight from Michael Bay. Right here he states that Ironhide's gun has 10,000 parts. It's because of the uber geeks at ILM who put so much craft into everything. Now, there's something pretty interesting about Bay's statement. he doesn't state that Ironhide's guns had 10,000 CGI parts each. Instead, he said that Ironhide's gun had 10,000 parts. Now, it's strange the way that he worded this since, as we know, Ironhide had 2 cannons, so I can only assume Bay was referring to both of them, which means that Ironhide's cannons were made up of a combined 10,000 parts in total, not 10,000 parts each. And thanks to ILM, it's safe to say that Ironhide's body was made up of 8,530 parts. So with all this talk about part counts finally out of the way, I still haven't discussed the real-world reason as to why Ironhide did not have his cannons in Dark of the Moon. And luckily for us, we do have an official answer thanks to Richard Johnson, who was the supervising art director for Transformers Dark of the Moon.
What we did first was design robots. Dozens of robots, literally. Some got facelifts, some got new weapons, some got new armaments. That was the priority. So the marching orders were get these robots together and get going.
And well, there you guys have it. Their priority was to freshen up the robot cast for the 3rd film. And we definitely see this come across in the movie. Optimus got a brand new abdomen, new forearm guards, and a trailer full of weapons. Bumblebee got a brand new vehicle mode and updated robot mode design. Ratchet got a brand new paint scheme. Sideswipe's vehicle mode was heavily updated from his original one. Wheelie was given a brand new gun. Skids and Mudflap would have had brand new vehicle modes before they were cut from the film. Megatron got a brand new robot mode and vehicle mode. Soundwave got a brand new robot mode and vehicle mode. The Hatchlings got updated designs. The Protoforms got a few brand new variants, and Barricade got a new gun. The only outliers here were Starscream and a handful of reused models, since they got absolutely nothing. So with that said, when it came to Ironhide, the filmmakers wanted to freshen up his design as well, and we know this thanks to the various pieces of concept art where they experimented with different weapons for the one and only weapons specialist. Now you might be wondering, why in the world would the filmmakers get rid of Ironhide's iconic cannons just to give him 2 brand new heavy iron rifles that he doesn't even end up using in the film? And well, it all comes down to keeping continuity with Revenge of the Fallen, which segues us into the in-universe explanation as to why he didn't have his cannons. You see, for those of you who may not remember, during the events leading up to Revenge of the Fallen's final battle, Ironhide led a scout team. This team consisted up of several Nest soldiers, as well as RC, Alita 1, and Chromia, all tasked with locating Sam Witwicky. Shortly after finding Sam, Ironhide and his team were ambushed by Starscream, Bone Crusher, and several Decepticon protoforms. The weapon specialist tanked numerous hits while providing cover fire for Sam and Michaela. In the end, Ironhide survived, albeit heavily damaged. He would go on to run for his life when Master Sergeant Robert Epps called in an airstrike that would carpet bomb the several Decepticons that were attacking Nest. In order to run out of the blast zone faster, Ironhide ejected his cannons and several parts on his body, which ultimately saved his life. Now, this is the in-universe explanation I cited in the past as to why Ironhide's cannons were not present in Dark of the Moon. However, after rewatching this scene several more times, I learned that there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye, which ultimately changes the in-universe explanation. The main thing I noticed is that Ironhide does not actually eject both of his cannons, he only ejects his left one, and we later see him barely escaping the airstrike with his right cannon. So then, if he never lost his right cannon, why does he not have it in Dark of the Moon? And well, he actually does. Well, part of it at least. You see, if you look at Ironhide's right forearm in Dark of the Moon, you will notice this cylinder piece with all this mechanical detail. This is actually just the upper part of Ironhide's right cannon. It only just has a lot more color to it. Now, this isn't the only part of the cannon that carried over, since this piece that resembles a turbine also did as well, which then begs the question, why did the full cannon not make a comeback? And well, I believe our answer lies in this scene. As we know, Ironhide's left cannon is fully deployed while his right one is retracted. This is really strange since Ironhide is usually seen fighting with both cannons out, not just one. So how come he only has one out here? And well, as we know before this scene, Ironhide was duking it out with several Decepticons. And if we look at his body, he is extremely damaged. His abdomen is on fire and parts of his chest are just flopping all about. Given the severity of his injuries, I theorize that his right cannon was damaged during his skirmish with the Decepticons, making it inoperable, thus forcing Ironhide to retract it into his arm. This led him to fight with only one cannon, which can explain the severity of his injuries. Now, thanks to Dark of the Moon, we know that Ironhide would be repaired sometime after the battle, since he has all the vehicle kibble he lost back. As for how he got repaired, it's safe to say that Ratchet was responsible. Now you might be wondering how Ratchet was able to repair him, and well, I theorize that after the Battle of Egypt, the Autobots in Nest wanted to reclaim their fallen soldiers and take them back home, as well as clean up the area. Now we know they likely did this since in Transformers 2007, Nest gathered the remains of the Decepticons and dumped them into the Laurentian Abyss, so I'm more than certain that they would have done the same here. Based on this, I theorize that Ratchet was able to salvage the parts that fell off of Ironhide and reattach them to his body, basically just like how he was able to reattach Bumblebee's legs after they were blown off by Starscream. However, something Ratchet wasn't able to do was fix Ironhide's cannons. Now you might be wondering why this is the case, and well, based on what we see in the films, Ratchet only appears to be able to fix wounds, not weaponry. The only Autobot that could likely fix weaponry was Wheeljack, based on the fact that he is a weapons inventor. However, since he wasn't on Earth at this time, Ironhide was out of luck. And so with that said, I theorize that Ironhide did not want to have a piece of insufficient weaponry attached to him, and thus detach the lower part of his right cannon, which can explain why he only had the upper part on his arm. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is how Ironhide has the exact same cylinder part of his right cannon on his left arm. And well, the real world reason for this is likely because the modelers used this piece of concept art where Ironhide's arms are symmetrical as a base. However, as for the in-universe explanation, the best theory that I can come up with is that Ironhide did something similar to what Optimus did in Transformers Age of Extinction. As we know, when Optimus pulled out the Sword of Judgment, he was able to change the way his arms looked. With that said, I theorize that Ratchet was able to salvage what was left of Ironhide's left cannon after the blast and attached it to Ironhide's left arm. After it was installed, Ironhide reformatted the way his left arm looked, so it matched his right, thus explaining why his arms are now perfectly symmetrical. And with that said, that's my explanation on what happened to Ironhide's cannons from both an in-universe and real-world standpoint.